It's the E-commerce Master Plan podcast, here to help you grow your e-commerce business faster and more efficiently by cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and guidance from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello, Master Plan World. Welcome to our latest podcast. It is a pleasure to have you listening. I'm Chloe Thomas, the creator of the E-commerce Master Plan. I'm an author, speaker and advisor, and I focus on solving your e-commerce marketing problems. This episode is sponsored by the email marketing platform that's recommended more than any other by the guests on this podcast, and that would be Klaviyo. Klaviyo accelerates momentum for e-commerce businesses and does it in a fast, reliable, scalable and cost-effective way. See why over 7,000 innovative e-commerce brands like Brooklinen, Taylor Stitch and Bonobos sell with Klaviyo. Learn how they're doing it at klaviyo.com/e-commerce-masterplan. Now, today we are joined by the marvellous Caroline Balinska. I've known Caroline for a couple of years now, and you may remember her from the 2018 E-commerce Masterplan Virtual Summit. Well, Caroline is here to talk to us about influencer marketing. And the reason she's here to talk to us about that is because she really knows her e-commerce and Shopify stuff. She's run her own sites as well as helping thousands of e-commerce business owners like you, and is regularly seen speaking at e-commerce events around the world. And she's also going to tell us about how you can learn much, much more about influencer marketing in her upcoming summit, Social Media Influencer Marketing Summit. Hello, Caroline.
Hi, Chloe. So great to be here and so great to be talking to you again.
Exactly. I love catching up with you because I always learn things. So shall we see what we can learn today? And I'm going to start us off by asking you how you got started off in e-commerce all those years ago.
Well, first of all, before I say that, I have to say congratulations on your summit that you had. I actually did an event in London last week and had a couple of people come up to me and say that they listened to me on there and also the rest of your summit and they loved it. They said it was fantastic. So it was really good. From other people are telling me that as well, and I had a lot of fun on it as well. So congratulations on doing that.
Thank you very much. And I do wish you all the best for yours, which the listeners, you're going to find out a lot more about that one shortly. Yes. So your e-commerce starting point, Caroline.
It started 2007 was the first time. I'd had websites before that for my other businesses. 2007, I decided that because I have huge feet, I decided to start my own website selling shoes. So I actually designed and manufactured shoes. I actually went back. I'm actually a cobbler. A lot of people don't know that. Wow. I went and studied shoemaking and handbag making, learned how to make shoes, but then I had them manufactured. I designed them, but had them manufactured in Indonesia and China, and started that. So my brother at the time was a web developer. And I can tell you, anyone sitting there thinking that their website's hard to navigate now and hard to design and develop, they have no idea what it used to be like. Whenever I mention this in front of people that have been doing it as long as me, it's just crazy. I had a 30-page contract I had to fill out just to have a credit card system on my website. Wow. It was crazy back then. And the website took me months and months and months, where moving just one icon over 3 spots, like 3 pixels was like the end of the world. So, these days with all the different platforms, it's just amazing what you can do. So I started there, and no one wanted to buy online back then. So it wasn't the fact of having too many competitors. It was just people didn't want to put their credit card on a website to buy anything. So things have changed, and I've learned so much from those days. And, I always come at everything from a business owner aspect, which makes my way of thinking a little bit different from most people's. And having that experience myself, it's really helped me. So, I've come a long way since 2007, and just the internet has come a long way. So I've seen it all. I've pretty much seen everything that's out there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is amazing how much it has changed or developed, I guess, in the last 10 years, and how easy things are these days. It still blows one's mind. Okay, so we're here to talk about influencer marketing today. So presumably you weren't doing influencer marketing all the way back in 2007. So how did you get into influencer marketing?
I'll tell you what, I said that the other day. I said, if only it was around back then when I was promoting my large size shoes. I was going out there and getting everyone to listen to me. And it's just, I think how amazing my business could have taken off. I started with influencer marketing, becoming really passionate about it about a year ago, because I see a lot of people starting websites and being told all these, they're told, oh, just put up a $5 ad and you'll make all these sales and you'll get all this business. And it just doesn't work like that in e-commerce, doesn't work like that in business. And influencers have got this power that you cannot find from a Facebook ad or from a Google ad. And while Facebook ads and Google ads are really great on so many levels for different things, influencer marketing is just completely different from that. And to build that yourself, it's near impossible for the average person to do. You've got to have that something special. So why not tap into the people that already have that something special and are passionate about the sorts of products you sell and get them to promote you? And you're not giving away money up front. Sometimes you do, and with the bigger influencers, you have to pay up front. But you're still able to find these influencers that are happy to take a commission or a very low upfront fee. And you can get your message out there to a huge amount of people very easily and very quickly.
I always find it quite interesting that when I say to people, if you thought about influencer marketing, they're often like, I can't afford a Kardashian. And I'm kind of, well, there's probably a lot more ROI to be got from a micro influencer, from someone who's a lot more focused in your market. And it's a lot lower cost than people are thinking to start influencers. It's not $10,000, $20,000 to get a big old celebrity to post it. It's actually a lot more testable and small scale than that, isn't it?
Definitely. And what I'm finding is I've got a few programs that I use, and we'll talk about it, but the summit that I'm running is specifically covering all aspects. And one thing I'm covering is different types of programs and systems you can use to find out the information. So just one of the programs is what I use. I use one called, and off the top of my head, I can't think what it is, Ninja. I'll come back to you with the name of it. I completely lost it. But my team and I use it. And what we actually do is that we can go in and we can find the influencers. When we find the influencer on the list, we can see what their actual, the rate is of people interacting with them. And what you'll start to see is that someone who has 1 million followers, their interaction rate might be 1%, but you find someone with 10,000 followers and the interaction rate is actually 3%, 4%, 7%, 15%. So it just proves that the lower the number of followers can actually work in your benefit in so many ways.
Yeah, because the followers isn't necessarily, well, usually is not the important thing. It's about how many of their followers actually pay attention and actually take action, because otherwise it's, what's the point really?
Yeah, and they've proved it. It was Donald Trump, they found out half of his followers were fake, and Justin Bieber, a whole lot of half of them were fake. And there was a lot of famous celebrities where they found out that their followers were actually, a huge amount of them were fake. So just looking at the followers, I always say to people, don't just look at the number of followers someone has, because that does not tell you anything about the success that they can bring you for your product launch.
And just before we get to the next question, just everyone who's listening out there, once Caroline remembers what the name of that tool is, I will make sure there's a link to it in the show notes for you. Okay, so don't worry, we're not going to leave you hanging on that one. Well, we are for now, but you'll be able to get hold of it when you're listening. So influencer marketing has changed a lot in the last 12 months. It's changed a lot in the last 6 months as people kind of refine their approaches and do different things, and more interesting case studies come out. Have you found that's making it better for retailers or more difficult?
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think that you can ever say that it's better or worse. I think it's a little bit like when I started my e-commerce store, there was no competitors out there, but there was also no one buying. So while there's now a lot of competitors, there's also a lot more people buying. So I think that works with influencers as well, that we can sit there and worry about things. Actually, one of the influencers I interviewed made a really good point. They said, at the moment, it's a really good time to be working with influencers, because until places like companies like Coca-Cola realize the power and they start putting a lot of money into it, we can still get influencers at a very reasonable price. So I think now is the time, no matter what anyone says. It's enough of a peak, but not enough where they're charging too much to actually get really good value out of working with them.
I guess it's the same with all marketing methods, isn't it? As more and more people dive in, there's only so much advertising space, as it were, available, so the prices just naturally go up.
Like Facebook ads, yeah?
Yeah, like Facebook ads and Google ads, and if Google and Facebook are to be believed. But hey, let's not get into that debate right now. So if So it's still a good time to get involved now. Is there, because people are listening to this in early October, is there time to implement influencers and make a difference with influencers for the big Christmas sales period this year?
100%. So one of the influencers I had on the other day that I pre-recorded our session with, he was saying that he needs about a week to 2 weeks to be able to put a campaign together. He's very hands-on. So some of the influencers are less hands-on, where they just say, you give me the picture and I'll post it on Instagram for you. And then, you know, the really good ones and the ones that will be the passionate ones, and they're the ones that are, you know, putting more effort into it. They're going out and doing the shoots themselves and thinking about the concept that they want to create, and 1 to 2 weeks. And look, it depends how busy they are. But if you're getting in now, like you said, it's the start of October, getting in there now and finding a couple of influencers, it can actually easily happen for you before Christmas. And one thing that I've learned, so talking to these influencers, you hear their side of the story, and it's been fantastic, not from the point of view of, here's the money, now what are you going to do for me? They're being very honest with their opinions and what they see. And they are saying that working with them more than once actually does help build that the brand and build that awareness with their followers. So a lot of them are saying, look, we can work with a company once, but we find that the second and the third time is where we get the most sales from it. So starting something now and doing 1 or 2, 3 campaigns before Christmas is perfect.
Oh, cool. So right now you could test with a few influencers, see which one works the best, and then repeat with them a few times to really maximize the performance.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they even call it, so one of the guys, he said that that's what he calls it. The first time's a test, and then he runs with, you know, the proper full campaign. And yeah, choose a couple of them. They don't have to be big ones. They don't have to have, you know, 1 million followers, but you can go with, you know, the smaller sort of influencers that we're calling micro influencers. That's really the name of them. And trying them out, seeing which one gives you the best results for a very low fee.
So we've talked quite a bit about the micro influencers and that they have lower followers and have reasonable engagements. What's the core criteria for selecting which ones to work with? Is it that they've advertised your competitors? Is it that they talk about your type of product? How do you go about kind of whittling down the hundreds of thousands of potential people you could be speaking to?
Sure. I'll tell you the name of the app first. It was ninjaoutreach.com. That's the one. Yay. They are coming on the summit as well. There are other apps out there, but I do like that one the best for a couple of reasons. It's not that expensive, but it also does all the things you really need it to do especially when you're starting out. So it's got really good features in there. So what is the main thing that you need to think about? Number one, and I can tell you this, one of the influencers, Alex, that's coming on, she gave a really good scenario in an interview I had with her. And she explains that she sold a pair of pants for a company and did $70,000 or $80,000 worth of sales in a couple of days for them for one pair of pants. And then they asked her, can you promote this other product for us? She said, sure, why not? I liked your pants. But she liked those pants before she got asked to promote them. And then this next product, she promoted it and made no sales for them. So she said it comes down to loving the product. If the influencer does not love the product, it won't work. So the worst thing you can do is go to influencers and say, here's my website. I'm going to send you this red T-shirt and you're going to promote this red T-shirt. Mm-hmm. You need to turn around and say to them, hey, here's my products. Is there anything you love there that you can promote? So be really careful. Do not tell the influencers what they have to promote. It's different if they're already using your product, or if you've got one product, like one of my clients, she's got one product and she just contacts them and says, hey, this is my one product. Do you love it or not? So it really comes down to the influencer has to love it. So they don't have to have done any sales of your competitors beforehand. They don't have to be normally talking about it. But if their audience is also loving that product, that type of product, then you can definitely promote it if that influencer loves it.
Okay, we've kind of given people some kind of headline tips about getting into influencer marketing and why they should think about getting into influencer marketing. I think it's time we probably told them a bit more about the summit. So do you want to let us know when it's happening, how we can get signed up, and just what it's all about, please?
Sure. So it's completely free. It's 29th till the 31st of October. It's over the 3 days. I've got so far 18 or 19 speakers that are coming on, all of them experts in what they do. So I've got people that own brands. One of the guys has 4 different Shopify stores, completely different businesses. And he's coming on to talk about all of the different parts of his business working with influencers. So for anyone who has a Shopify store, it's going to help you a lot. Even, BigCommerce, anything else, it will give you a lot of information about how to work with different brands when it comes to influencing. And then I also have a lot of app developers. So Ninja Outreach is one. There's a couple of the people that just run influencer software. They'll be coming on talking about different aspects. And then I also have a whole lot of influencers talking about different types of influencers. Like I've got one lady, she's over the age of 40, which is going to be so interesting because I think that's an area we don't think about a lot when it comes to influencers. And then I have a great guy who's only 20, 21, and he's doing great things with streetwear and then everything in between. So there's a really good variety of people coming on. So pretty much if you sell anything online and you want to understand what it's like working with influencers, then this is going to take you through everything you need to know and sign up. It's completely free to sign up for it and check it all out.
And where do we go to sign up?
Okay, so you go to winningwithshopify.com/summit and all the information is there on the website. And there's a sign up form there and a little video to give you sort of a little bit of an outline of what we're doing.
So there's 2 things I really like about how you've put your summit together. And one is that you've got the three important types of content. You've got content from the guys who create the tools that make influencer marketing possible and easy and not huge amounts of work. And then you've also got some actual retailers saying how they've used it. So kind of real life case studies. And then you've got some influencers, which even if those influencers aren't ones that might be interested in the products of the people who are attending the summit, it's still going to help them understand how an influencer rocks, what they want, how they can help and all of that, which will make it seem so much less intimidating to reach out to the influencers themselves because you've seen one, you've heard one talk about it all, and it makes it seem so much of a less intimidating marketing method. And then the other thing I really love is that I find when I talk to people about influencer marketing who've never done it, they feel a little bit intimidated. They're like, oh, that sounds like a completely different, crazy thing that I have no idea how to approach or what to do. And I think the fact you've got, was it what you said, 18, 19 separate sessions, all helping people understand, I think that's really going to help break down that kind of nervousness people have around influencer marketing and just make it feel like, yes, this is something I get it now. I can approach it. I've now got the tools. I've seen how someone else has done it and I know how to speak to influencers. I think it's an absolutely brilliant mix.
And that all came about only because of all the people I talk to when I run live events, when people contact me. And these are the things that I'm hearing from them. So even like in the last 2 weeks, I've been writing down notes of some new things that have come in from clients that I'm speaking to. And they ask me something and I go, oh, okay, I'm going to have that in the summit as well. So yeah, it really comes down to everything is from that owner, from the shop owner's standpoint of, hey, what do I need to know? I've also got some other marketing people that actually specialize in influencer marketing talking about that. So that, yeah, there's a huge variety. And I think with the tools, the different software available, there are so many different options out there and understanding which one works best. Some of them are charging $5,000 per month to use them, and some of them are charging $100 a month and some are free. So it's good to understand why they're different prices for different reasons. So yeah, it really just helps everyone understand. And while I am aiming it at Shopify store owners, and that's only because I just want every app to interact with Shopify, overall, every single app developer does actually work with all the major e-commerce platforms as well. So you can come on and listen to one of the guys talking, like Ninja Outreach, for instance. It works for anything. It doesn't actually integrate into any e-commerce platform. So anyone using any platform can actually watch that session and completely, follow the guidelines that they talk about.
Okay, so we've just gone through quite a lot of bits and pieces about influencer marketing. One of the things I know from running my own summit is that I personally learn a huge amount from creating the summit and listening to all the speakers and all the rest of it, let alone how much the audience learns. So before we head over into the top tips round. Is there a top tip that you've personally learnt that you didn't realise before you got into creating your own summit? What's been your big takeaway from it?
So far, so I haven't finished putting everything together yet, so I'm not going to say that's not going to happen. And I was actually in the bonus section, I was actually going to put some of those things in there, just an overview to let people know, because I thought exactly what you're thinking. There are things that are starting to come up. But what I do notice is that it's definitely not as scary as people think, and it's not as expensive as people think. Once you actually get down to understanding how much it's actually going to cost you to work with an influencer, even some of these bigger numbers of an outlaying $10,000 is actually not that big when you understand what's behind it compared to doing a Facebook ad, for instance. So if you have the sort of products that you can do with influencer marketing, I think anyone would be crazy not to test the market and test out what the options are out there.
Excellent. Well, look, before we get into the top tips round, here's a reminder of our lovely sponsor. Whether it's being able to execute marketing ideas you didn't know were possible, or bringing to life the ideas you didn't have the tools or resources to do before, Klaviyo makes it possible for you to level up. You can try it for yourself at klaviyo.com/e-commerce-masterplan. Right, the top tips round, because you guys haven't had enough advice in this podcast already. Right, I do love this section though, because it gives me and our listeners some quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. So Caroline, first up is the book top tip. If everybody listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
I actually don't really read books at the moment. There's podcasts are what I do.
We'll take a podcast.
I love Digital Marketer. I think their podcast is fantastic. I listen to it, every episode. Digital Marketer all the way.
Excellent advice. And they named this podcast in their top digital marketing podcasts blog a couple of weeks ago. So
fantastic.
Properly loving that as a recommendation. Sharing the love. Okay, the traffic top tip then. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
Pinterest. I think people do not. I've got one of the speakers is talking about Pinterest on the summit. People do not understand how powerful Pinterest is. I did a podcast with someone recently about it. It is amazing how many people are missing the mark on Pinterest and going for things like Facebook instead of Pinterest. So that's my tip all the way.
And it's definitely one worth learning about as well, isn't it? Because it's a weird little beast all of its own. And if you don't know the right strategy, you ain't going to get anywhere. From my experience of it. So there's another bonus reason for signing up to Caroline's Summit there, guys. You can find out how to make Pinterest rock. Okay, the tool top tip there. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Mine is the Best Self Journal. That is my number one. It's all about making sure that my day is completely productive. It's a 13-week journal and you work through it. You have your goals set at the start of the 13 weeks. You work through it, which works out to 3 months. And you go through and every single day you have to keep yourself accountable all the way through from the start of the day till the end. And I can't stop raving about it. I don't do it I don't go from one journal to the next. So sometimes I take a month off, but I'm using it at least 3 times a year and I love it.
Excellent advice. Okay, then the growth top tip. If you met someone today who's focused on growing their e-commerce business from 100 orders per month to 1,000, what would be your number one tip for them?
Have a plan. And I think you feel the same way. I think too many people, you're on my podcast talking about that and I'm very passionate about it. 99% of people go out there and say, I want to get more sales. I had a couple or I'm just starting out. And you start asking them, well, what is your plan? And they go, to get more sales. It's like, that's not a plan. That's your goal. And it's a very bad goal because it's not a smart goal. Yeah, it's just sort of like a dream. And I always say, a dream without a goal, a goal without a plan is only a dream. So making sure you actually have that plan behind it. If you have that in place, you're going to get a lot further and you can always change it.
Okay, Masterplan World, you can find the top tips and links to everything else we've been chatting about in today's episode by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast, where you will see a link to this show. Caroline, before we say goodbye, please remind the listeners where they can find out everything they need to know about the wonders of influencer marketing.
So the summit will be at winningwithshopify.com/summit, and all the information's there about who I've got on there and what days it's running, and you can get your free ticket there.
Excellent. I like that. Short and sweet. I will add that link as well to the show notes. So guys, you can find that at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast, or head to the website, click on the podcast tab, or use the search box. Caroline, as always, it has been awesome catching up with you and having a chat today. And so thank you. Thank you very much for coming on, for sharing lots of great advice about influencers. And I for one, cannot wait to get my hands on your summit.
Wonderful. Thanks, Chloe. It's always a pleasure. And thanks everyone for listening.
Okay, guys. So if you have ever been in the least bit tempted to try out influencer marketing, if you have been in the least bit intrigued by what Caroline and I have been talking about in today's episode, I strongly advise you to go and try out her summit. It's all about influencer marketing. It's going to give you the opinions of the influencers so you can get to grips with what they are, who they are, what they like, what they don't like, how they like to work with people. And they're all a little bit different. So it's quite cool. She's got several of them to talk to you. You're also going to get to hear from other retailers who have tried it out and have their stories of how they made it work and all the rest of that, and some advice on which tools to use, because the tools will save you so much time. As influencer marketing, there is a lot of time involved. So the Social Media Influencer Marketing Summit is completely free. It's going live from the 29th to the 31st of October, but you can save your spot right now, and you will find it at winningwithshopify.com/summit. And the link will be in the show notes. Definitely one to have a look at to see if it's going to work for you as we get ever closer to Christmas. Okay, guys, that is it from me and the show today. Have a great week and keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com.